What's going on, everybody? Che here with the No Spoon Podcast. Thank you for tuning into my channel. I'm here with another video. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so now. Subscribe. You see a lot of other videos like this one. Also, stick around to the end because at the end, that's when you can decide whether you like it or dislike it. And either way, go ahead and let me know. I take all the criticism and all the feedback that I can get. Also, comment, right? I want to hear what you got to say, whether you disagree or agree. Either way, it doesn't matter. I want to hear what you got to say. I'm all open to discourse, open to dialogue. It's a great thing. I'm appreciative of both, and share it with people. Right. So I want to talk about what's going on with all the pro-Palestinian protests that are going on in these colleges and universities. Uh, you know, People have been asking me, and I haven't really talked about it too much, and I haven't really said anything about it. And when people ask me about it, the only reason I really could give them my why is because, to be honest, it just doesn't really. Yeah, I don't find it interesting. I know it sounds kind of crazy because you have these colleges, and like over here, like at UCLA, they've made a whole encampment of where they're just refusing to leave, and they board it up, and they're protesting, and it's turning violent. They're protesting with counter protesters, or I mean, they're getting violent with counter protesters with the police. It's crazy. Um, but I don't find it interesting because I just think it's obvious on what's going on. Uh, these are college students who are being sent to these institutions that have an interest in repeating some of the things that they have done. And when I say they, I mean faculty, staff, professors, right? That they have done to make themselves relevant. You know, there's a grievance class, and that grievance class is led by academia. And when I mean grievance class, is that there are people who have made their entire careers, their entire relevancy off of grievances, off of activism, right? Now, I used to think like, man, it's cool, you fighting for your rights, and of course, I would never expect a person to just allow their rights to be taken. But if we're really looking at what's going on, especially here in America, you know, people have all the rights that they need, at least for now. You know what I mean? But we're seeing the people that are doing the protesting are actually supporting the side that's taking away rights. That's a different story. You know, but this class, and let me just talk in these terms, and this is what I'm saying is like, here's what I see with the pro-Palestinian stuff, right? They're being agitated by intellectuals, and these intellectuals have made their whole career on activism. So they need more activism, and they need to train more activists. And most of them are being paid by colleges and universities to do exactly that. Because when you get a degree in sociology, when you get a degree in some of these liberal arts practices, there is no profession out there other than to teach other people the same thing. So you're taught it's like being taught nothing so that you can go and teach other people nothing. So they need causes, because if there's no causes, if there's nothing to protest, if there's nothing to activism in order to get involved in, then they lose their relevancy. So bottom line, that's what I see going on. Now, we can get into the whole money thing. We can get into the whole, uh, who's benefiting from all this. We can get into all that stuff, right? And what happens is the people that are having interest in funding these type of things because they get benefit, they get, some type of gain from it. They're seeking out the intellectuals. They're seeking out these people who are activists, and their students are getting riled up because they see the potential in becoming the next generation of activists who have made a substantial living off of their activism. That's all it really is. That's why I said it doesn't really interest me, because that's what I see. I see career activists creating activism and doing the only thing that they can really do with their skill set, which is to create more activists. And so, do I think that this activism is going to change what's going on the other side of the world? 1000% no. And I think that they know it, they don't care, right? A lot of these kids they're led by ideals that they feel are practical, even though they're probably not. You know what I mean? Like, they're led by these, altruism that is created in some textbook full of fantasies of a world that does not take into consideration human nature, does not take into consideration the way men function amongst other men. It's so they've created a class of people who have become reliant on petitioning the government to do things for them. It's the same thing as people having grievances over anything that you see people having grievances over. A gender wage gap, racism, um, classism, workers' rights. All these things are people complaining to the government, and the government becoming more empowered in the process. So that's why I don't really, I'm not really interested in seeing a bunch of whiny kids. I've watched some of these videos, and it's like, I seen the one they were like removed a journalist because they felt, well, I mean, he kind of snuck in there and spied on them. And then it's like they all banded together and removed him. It was so lame. Like, I don't understand. These are a bunch of weird kids who, most of them are gender fluid, and they don't, like, they were all the weirdos in high school. But who knows, man? Maybe I'll probably be a weirdo today in high school, the way these kids are. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I see it. You're not gonna change anything. Now, do I necessarily agree with the cops coming in and doing some of the things they're doing? No, but at the same time, if you're barricading yourself in a place that you have really no right to, in the sense of you don't own it, you know what I mean? Like, even though it's a public university, if it was a public university, then we can all just walk in there and go, but that's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? Like, a public university is kind of like a stretch, right? A public library, I can walk into the public library and check out a book. I can go to a public park and work out. I can't just go to UCLA, which I would never go to, by the way, and just go and sit in a class. Like, I have to pay money for that. And yeah, there's government grants, but that's neither here nor there. But I mean, you go to certain places. There's ways that you protest. There's ways that you do things. You can't break people's stuff. You can't destroy people's things. You can't vandalize things. So I mean, in that sense, I mean, you start doing stuff like that, what do you think's gonna happen? You know what I mean? Like, that's just how I see it. Like, it's. I mean, that's just how people common sense see it. You go anywhere and you start breaking stuff. You start vandalizing things. You start doing things of that nature. Yeah, you're probably going to incur the wrath of whoever's in charge and who's in control, right? So, I mean, like I said, I'm not. It doesn't, like, I'm not like, oh, I'm not cheering on any side. That's just bottom line. Like, to me, I think it's just a bunch of, you know, weirdo reject kids that are gotten too smart for their own good, and they're being radicalized by academia that has an interest in keeping themselves relevant. You know, it has nothing to do with Palestine and Israel. I mean, let me just say something to that, right, real quick, because I'm not going to really get into the Palestine and Israel thing. But if you think that your side is not the propaganda and it's solely the other side, I think you fell for the propaganda. That's all I got to say. I'm not going to say that, you know, it's a genocide on either side. If I was at war with somebody, I would try to paint them as the most evil people possible, right? Because I'm not only just trying to win the physical war, I'm trying to win the mental war, the war of propaganda. So, I'm not going to sit here if like exactly what I just said. If you think that your side is not the propaganda and it's solely the other side, yeah, I think you've drank the Kool-Aid, bro. That's how I feel. But yeah, it just doesn't really interest me because, like I said, I think it's a stunt. These people. Let me just say something. When it comes to them people like the grievance people, right? The activists, they're never going to be satisfied, right? They're never going to be satisfied because why? Because their livelihood is based on not being satisfied. So it don't interest me. I see right through it. You know, I'm not gonna get bullied by no blue haired they them. And I don't think you should too. And they want to board up and they want to destroy things and vandalize things and do all that, then hey, that's how the cookie crumbles, right? That's what they say. But anyways, tell me what you think. By leaving a comment, share it with as many people as possible. Like, dislike, either way, it's all good. Um, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Until then, my name is Che. This is No Spoon Podcast. Keep breaking those curses, though.